to the Playoffs of Life podcast. This is going to be episode 1. This episode will be talking about the Black Summer Review. It's a Netflix TV show that we both really ended up liking. We're going to start with an overall outlook on the show, and then we'll give a deep dive of every character that we started with. And we'll also talk about whether or not we foresee us finishing season 2. With that being said, what did you think of season 1?
Well, my opinion of the show changed depending on the watch through. So as you know, I watched the season 1 twice, once by myself and once with you. When I watched it the first time, I loved it. I, for context, am a very scary person when it comes to scary movies, haunted house, anything of the fright nature just gets me. So when I watched it the first time, the fear made me ignore a lot of the lesser qualities that I liked about the season.
Mm-hmm.
So first watch, I thought it was amazing, 10 out of 10. Second watch, it was an 8. What did you think?
I was feeling like the episodes kind of dragged. The way the show at least started, it didn't really attract my attention until somewhere in the middle when we started seeing the characters actually, like, we got more background on every character and we started seeing their final goals. Because as we're going to talk about, there was like certain characters where I felt like they didn't really have a lot to even do until they started becoming a group. And it wasn't until they became a group that they started doing stuff that I actually wanted to see. When they were by themselves, I wasn't really compelled. But in terms of the overall aspect of the show, basically the first half, I would probably give a 5. And
I would have to disagree about them being better when they were together. Because my favorite episode was episode 4, when it's literally called Alone, because it was about one character, and that was his breakout episode.
Yeah, for you though, but you like him more than a lot of the other characters. That was your favorite character, right?
Because of that episode, because he had that time to shine, because we got to see him act his butt off.
Okay. So overall, you give the show what for the whole season?
An 8.
And for me, I would say I give it a 6. Now, giving it that 6 doesn't mean I didn't not like it. It just means that I
kind of does.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like giving it a 6 means I liked it, but not enough to think, okay, this show is really
Then why did you want to review it?
So I wanted to review it mainly because the show actually got more compelling. It started off low and it built up to a 6. That's what I'm saying. It's not bad. It's not a show I think is
a 6 is not a great score to me. So for it to start off low and build up to a 6.
You only give it an 8.
I don't get the high, but my initial watch was a 10.
Initial watch was 10. And then it led to an 8 after you watched it the second time.
Yes. Because I could pay attention more to the story and the acting and where there were a lot of inconsistencies in the storyline.
Okay, well, but we can dive right into it. We can dive into each character and see, I see where both of our points kind of collide. So, our first character we can talk about is an actor by the name of Jamie King. She played the character Rose. So, for Rose, her story was, and this is going to be spoilers, of course, because we're not really thinking about non-spoilers. I don't really know if non-spoilers is a great way to review this show.
This show came out in 2021.
Right.
We are late to it anyway.
Yeah.
So, and we're not really talking about season 2 in this episode. So there shouldn't be spoilers for people who really wanted to watch it. And if you haven't watched it, spoilers.
Okay. So Jamie's played Rose. Rose is basically a mother, and her whole arc is to find her daughter. As she starts episode 1, you see how her family kind of gets broken up. And once her family gets broken up, it's just her trying to survive enough to get to the stadium. And the stadium is basically where a lot of refugees and a lot of people are going to find shelter and survive this whole apocalypse that's going on. Because apparently in the show, no one really knows where this came from or how this even started yet. This is a little different than The Walking Dead, where you kind of understand at the end of season 1 what happened. In this show, you don't know what happened. You just see people surviving, and it's pretty great the way they set it up. For Rose's character, I didn't like her. I really didn't.
I didn't like her either. I feel like they gave her really very much a Karen vibe.
Right.
And the more that went along, at first they gave her a helpless, woe is me, I can't do nothing. Like, she didn't even have a weapon. She didn't have, like, she was just letting other people fight the zombies while she watched. To, I'm cold and heartless.
Okay.
And uncaring.
Okay. Now, throughout the season, I would say that, we saw the character development. She did definitely start off like a Karen. She started off as somebody helpless. Started off as somebody that did not know how to do anything without help. And as the season went on, she really flipped. Like, she did kind of a 180, because there are like episodes and there are moments where you're like, damn, like, this girl is actually surviving, but she learned quickly. She adapted faster than we thought she was. And I think getting her daughter actually solidified that. It was kind of like
You're getting into season 2.
No. Well, I mean, not really.
Yes, it is. She doesn't get her daughter to the end of
the very end of the season. But I'm saying her getting her daughter is like the achievement. Like, because she did everything leading up to that, she was like, okay, I got my daughter. This worked. That's all I was really trying to say. Okay. Well, what about you?
Yeah, I said how I felt about her. I felt like she was a Karen.
I
didn't like her character.
Okay.
I thought the flip was weird. And it was too fast, and there wasn't really a reason for her flip. Like, there wasn't a moment where you see, okay, this is why she's being cold and heartless from this point on. Honestly, you thought she would have been cold and heartless from when her husband attacked her. But no, that wasn't it. She was still very loving, caring, joined the group up until like the last like 3 episodes. Then she was just like, I'm killing anybody and everybody.
Like, so that can stop me from getting my daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think of the character of Sun, played by actress Kristen Lee?
I liked her character a lot. What I didn't like about her character is that they didn't translate any of the stuff she said, because she does speak Korean. And I was interested in what she was saying, because I feel like she had some witty, very sarcastic remarks, and I love her sarcastic
I remember when we pointed that out, that was like, well, they don't have to understand what she's saying, but we would like to understand, because we want to feel the emotion she's feeling. Like, it's still translated on the screen, like, okay, she's worried about these people she doesn't know, these strangers, or she's trying to give directions, or she's just trying to get frustration out.
Yeah, like, we get her overall emotion that she's portraying, because she's a great actor. But I would have just liked to know what she was saying, especially in some of the moments where I knew she was like rolling her eyes, and I knew she was just saying something like very funny. But I get the director's choice to leave it out, because it is kind of like making you more immersive in the moment of the danger of it all. Like, this is the only person that you have with you, and you can't understand a word she's saying. So I get leaving it out. I get both points.
I also think that her being one of our favorite characters, she was also one of the smartest characters during Apocalypse, and I thought it was crazy that she didn't speak English, but majority of the time she was the person who was the most logical, the smartest.
That's why I felt like I wanted to know what she was saying, because I knew, like, yeah, she was speaking some truth. Whatever she was saying, she was speaking some truth. I also think that she was just a total badass. Like, I feel like where Rose was helpless in the beginning, she was Christina was like a total badass. Like, she didn't back down. She tried to save other people several times, even when I was like, girl, what are you doing? And she had nerves to steal. Like, a zombie would be coming right at her, but she would finish the task no matter how close the call was. And I could respect that for sure.
Favorite episode with her was the diner scene, when she was sitting there and they're basically debating about throwing her as food for the zombies to get away. And you can tell, like, she was acting without speaking. Every action she was doing was like her showing, I'm ready in case shit goes down. Like, I'm prepared to do what I gotta do if they decide to turn on me, basically. What about the character of Spears, played by the actor Justin Chu Carey? What do you think of him?
At first, he didn't stand out to me.
Okay.
Because they were using him as like if Rose was doing the "woe is me, I'm so helpless" white girl act, which is so overdone and played out, Justin Spears was doing the save a hoe thing. And I did not like it at first, especially not because he's black, like another black man caping for a white woman. It was save a hoe in the beginning.
But I felt like
because Justin was very much a person that will, if it's not in his best interest, he will leave you.
Okay.
But from the moment that he helped her, she kind of changed him because he was helping people more and more. There was even a point in the summer school episode 3, where there was this kid in the school and everybody else wanted to help the kid, and Justin was like, no, let's get out of here. I'm not helping nobody. Let's save ourselves. So for him to be that way but still decide to save her, cape for her, seemed like that don't make no sense as his character. But pretty white woman in distress.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay, so you felt like he had the Captain Savo complex. I felt
for her, which was weird.
Okay, for me, I felt like his character was one of those characters where it seems so simple. It seems like off rip, very first episode, they explain he knows something about the apocalypse. He's being arrested by the crooked military, and you see that he's willing to do what he has to do to get out. So off rip, I immediately think to myself, okay, he's a survivor out of the whole group. And then my kind of
right, and a survivor
changed.
People who are survivors do not throw themselves to save damsels
Unless, like you said, it's in their best interest.
Right.
And I do feel like,
and it wasn't in his best interest the first time he saved her.
Maybe not the first.
He was doing Captain Save-A-Ho.
Okay, but throughout the season, and when he was making those saves, they were valuable
no.
to him.
Even when the summer school episode, that wasn't in their best interest. He was all, for all intents and purposes, like, let's don't do this, and nobody listened to him, and they got screwed for it.
What about when they saved Sun? When they went to go, first of all, the heist episode was funny, but when they actually went to go,
they didn't
get all that weapons and supplies, and then Sun was in the vents, and she looked like she about to get eaten. He didn't have to save.
He had the time, and there was no zombies chasing him, and yeah. But I think put feet to the fire, he would have left her.
It was like a zombie was chasing him.
Yes, at that point, because I don't think he formed the relationship with her enough to prompt him to save her. That's just the vibe I got from him.
Okay.
That if it's in his best interest and his life is on the line, he will leave you. Like we saw it in the episode with the heist, when he was running through the building and all the doors were locked, people were trying to get in, begging him to open it, and he just turned his back on them and saved himself.
Okay.
Because he's a survivor. I can't be mad at him for doing that, but I can be mad at him for implying that Rose is the exception, which I wouldn't be mad at if there was like a love type of vibe from them, but there is no love type of vibe from them.
Yeah, there's really never even really friendship vibes. It's
exactly.
Just,
so why
together.
Is he like laying his life on the line for this woman and her daughter?
Right. Matter of fact, in episode 1 when she was climbing the fence and he initially saved her, and then she literally just cut them and said, "Help me save my daughter," and then he was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And that
I found
we thought was weird.
Like, no, thank you. No,
we thought that was Karen. I think that's the first time you said Karen.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no person should just say that, and then it's okay for you to, especially during an apocalypse.
Right.
This ain't like,
I don't owe you anything. I just saved your life. That me saving your life this one time helped you save your daughter. Yeah. I don't owe you anything past this. Yeah. I can't just trust you. You gotta. Everybody else, like when other characters got together, they had to prove that they was worth being a part of the group.
Right.
They had to prove that they was loyal,
right.
Whatever. But she was just like, help me.
Right.
And he was like, okay. Whereas he's an overly suspicious person.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden, he just has this blind trust for this character.
For this one person.
This one person. Which, I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
All right. Let's talk about Lance, who's played by the actor Kelsey Flower. What do you think of him?
He is absolutely my favorite character because I feel like he's a very consistent character with, like, as far as, he's another guy who has, like, survival instincts.
Okay.
He will abandon you.
He know how to run.
Because they say fight, flight, or freeze. And he is flight, and he is true to that. And episode 4, he was alone. He shined. It was him 1v1, him versus one zombie that would not stop trying to get after him, and he ran.
Which I want to point out that in this show, most shows, even like really popular shows like The Walking Dead, the zombies overwhelm you with number. In this show, they make it very clear that these zombies are overwhelming because they are relentless. Like, just one is a problem for an entire group versus a whole bunch of them. We really don't see a lot at one time. In a couple episodes, we see like them starting to change, and then it becomes a huger problem. But really, one can really mess up everything in an episode. It doesn't matter how many people you have on your side.
Right. And like you said, that really shines in that episode. And he's just a funny character. He's an icebreaker. I thought it was crazy the way he was randomly showed up again during the heist, episode 6.
Okay, yeah.
He was like,
was he
drugged out? He was drugged out after, I guess he had pretty much given up hope because he got split up from the group during the school episode where, spirits was telling them, let's not do this, but they did it anyway. That's one person in the group died, and Lance got separated.
Okay. And the last character, well, I mean, in my opinion, Lance, I'm going to say, if I had to pick anybody at the group, Lance was less memorable for me. Episode 4, because it was an episode all about him, I did find myself getting bored. I was like, okay, this zombie, I get it. The zombie really wants to eat you. I didn't need a whole episode with him, if I'm being honest. There was I didn't see any development. Amazing. I just really felt like he survived the traumatic experience by himself. And that was it.
I disagree about the development because we just saw him come alive in a way that he didn't even know he could come alive in. He might have thought he was a coward before, but like, ain't nothing wrong with being a coward, especially not in situations like this.
Okay, and last but not least, a very divisive character, Mr. William Velez, who was played by Sal Velez Jr. What did you think of his character?
I thought he was divisive.
I really did. So his character was the most complex to me.
I didn't like him initially. I didn't like him initially because I thought he was weak. I thought he was using the girls when he got into the van with them on episode 2. He got in the driver's seat, was yelling at one woman to figure out directions while he was being frustrated with for not being able to speak English. But as episodes went on, he proved himself to be a worthy partner in the group. He was loyal to O even when people wanted to get rid of her. And yeah.
So, I say divisive because my opinion is a little different to yours. I honestly feel like he was the most decisive because he seemed to be the oldest out of everybody, and he seemed to carry that everywhere he went. From the minute that we see him on screen, he's expressing how old he is with the references he's giving them, with him explaining how hard it was for him to do stuff, with him being stubborn about certain decisions, like, I think I know best type of mentality. There were decisions at the very beginning where I felt like he put his comrades in danger. We'll point to the car episode when they were being chased in the car and they got away, but then something got stuck in the tire. So what does he do? They decide to send Sun out there and he tells Son, I'm not gonna leave you. Okay. And you would think up to that point, you can't trust anything anybody says in this show. But Son decides to go out there. She gets whatever was stuck in the tire of the car while the zombie is approaching her and almost gets her. And he doesn't leave her. But she gets back in the car and he drives them away. But I thought that was eye-opening because to me that was the first moment where trust actually went a long way. Because
But I don't think that was divisive.
okay, well, that moment, and then another moment I can point out is when they were in the diner. In the diner, the guy, I think his name was Phil, the
But
leader
he
of the
wasn't
other
being
group.
divisive in the diner. The other guy was.
No, the other guy was trying to be convinced. He was trying to persuade him.
That's
to-
being divisive. Like
Right.
he was trying to persuade him to go against somebody in the group.
And
That's
then-
literally divisive.
And then he was like you said, he was very loyal, but he was also conflicted because talking to the guy, he was talking about his family.
He was never changing his mind. He just was acting like he was never going to betray Son.
You don't feel like there was at any moment he thought
No.
about it. Okay.
I think he was always. I don't think at any point he was going to. If he thought about it, it was brief.
So you think he was playing the guy
Yes,
during the conversation?
absolutely. Because you know how it is when you deal with a hot-headed white man. Sometimes you just pander to their ego for the moment.
Okay.
They're all trapped in this diner. What is the point of getting in this argument and with him right now?
Okay.
And it wasn't until that character tried to make a move at Son that he was like that he felt the need to be like, no, we're not doing this.
Okay.
Because why would he feel the need to say that beforehand? If you know,
I thought he was going gung-ho with the guy up until
No.
they messed up their first plan. Remember
like
when
you
they
said,
went
he's
outside?
older. He's decisive.
Mhm.
Yes,
He's stubborn. He was a stubborn dude, but
exactly.
he
So
was
I don't.
stubborn to
So him being that way, I don't think he ever would have changed his mind just because this white guy was like, "Do you really know her?" I don't think he would have changed his mind about her just because he said that.
Mhm.
Like you said, he's stubborn.
Mhm.
She had already saved his life. He already felt very indebted to her because of the car thing that you mentioned.
Mhm.
I don't think he would have changed his mind like that. No.
Okay. And then a side character that I guess a bonus character we can bring up. She didn't make it too long, but she did have an impact for a short amount of time. Don't remember her actor's name, but Barbara. She was the old lady in the back of the car.
I thought you was gonna bring up Jace.
No, we can talk about James. I thought
Or,
Barbara
or
was
sorry,
more interesting.
Cameron.
Cameron. Yeah,
Yes.
we can talk about them if you want. Let's go ahead and go. You do Cameron, I do Barbara. What you thought?
Just because Cameron was like so important to the tunnel episode, in the heist episode.
True.
Basically, she was the engineer to
To
the, both of those episodes.
She was also the downfall of that as well.
Right.
Right.
But like her and her boyfriend, it was basically their plan. They're the one who even knew about it. So yeah, without her, there would have been no episode 6 and 7.
Okay.
So I feel like
Can I say-
Barbara,
can I-
yeah, she's cool, but she died
Without Barbara,
in episode 2.
there would be no Son. There would be no villains because her car is what got them as far as they got. Now the way she ended up in the car.
No, because he would have got that car without her. Because the only way he got the car because a guy stole the car from her.
Mhm.
He didn't take. By he, I mean I'm referring to.
You talking about Velez?
Yes. He didn't take the car from her or ask her to join the car, him in her in the car. He
They
beat up the guy who stole the car from her.
Mm-hmm. And then
So-
Son and Velez got in the car at the same time.
Right. So without Barbara, if you take Barbara's character away, they still beat up the guy who was in the. He still beats up the guy that was in the car and takes the car.
I really want to highlight Barbara because I kind of felt some way with the way she went out. I thought she was going to be one of those
Glad she
go to
wasn't.
season 1 type of finale characters, and then to see that literally the very next episode, she gets flown out the window of her car. Well, not her car, she stole that car too, but gets flown out the window and actually becomes like an enemy to them in the diner episode. I thought was funny. And but I did like her character for the time she on that, because she actually tried to contribute. She was like, look, hey, I can get you to the stadium. I was rich at one time. I got
Okay, she tried to use her money. Big whoop. What rich white
you
person
gotta do to
doesn't try to
survive.
use
She's
their
a
money?
she's an older, elderly lady. She obviously wanted to survive. That's why she even did what she did.
Yes, but flashing cash during an apocalypse is not how you contribute to the group.
I don't think
She
you would
was supposed
believe her
to.
if she said she could supply anything else like that.
I don't know why he would care that she can supply cash. In apocalypse, I would not care. The only way I'm taking on in that situation, or I would agree to take her on, is if she was useful for the group, and she wasn't that useful for the group. I mean, she couldn't read the map. Sun had to interpret the map, even though she was speaking another language. She didn't, in a fight, I don't think she would have been that great against a zombie, and she didn't volunteer to help when stuff was going on with that zombie during the drive. She was just there. I don't think she was a remarkable character.
Okay, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. I don't think Lance was a remarkable character. That's totally fair. But we just agree to disagree. So, what is your favorite episode? Out of every single episode, what episode you point to?
Lance did way more than Barbara. What are you talking about?
Bruh, I just explained how Barbara's car did so much.
That was not her car, and they would have got that car without her.
No, that's not necessarily.
They didn't steal it from Barb. You're acting like they took the car from Barbara, or they asked Barbara for the car. They took the car from the guy who was in it.
That was who was stealing it from.
Who already had? Don't say he was stealing it. He was in the car.
He was in it.
At that point, the car was already stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So if Barbara wasn't there, and that man still came along, found that car, he still would have been in that same place. Oh, guys, William still would have came and took the car. You could have removed Barbara's character, and nothing would have changed other than it would have been one character, one zombie outside of the diner instead of two.
So what did Lance do?
He had a whole episode to himself. He was instrumental in the school episode.
Was it?
Yes. And he was he was comic relief. What you need in
for a zombie apocalypse.
Yes. Have you not seen Zombieland? Have you not seen Warm Bodies? They always have comic reliefs in these type of movies, even if it's just a little, like the episode 8 in the stadium when he got separated and he was disorientated and running and all these zombies was chasing him. I just knew he was gonna die. At every point, I just know this man is dead, and then he just keeps fighting. That's much more memorable to me, whether he helps the group, because I feel like you don't have to contribute to this group. One, let's start there, because the whole group's goal is to get Rose's daughter. Why?
Well, really, the whole group goes to survive, and then they all
exactly. So he doesn't have exactly. So he doesn't have to survive individually.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, nobody really survives except for Rose, Sun, Spears, and him. He did survive until the end of season 1. Yes, he did.
Oh well, yeah, he made it to the end of season 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they're the only ones that survived, and so he did what he was set out to do. One, and you're saying he didn't contribute much to the group. He didn't have to. Everybody was out for their own self. Yeah, Spears, for whatever reason, was very committed to saving Rose's daughter, which I already talked about is ridiculous and problematic. But Lance looking out for himself is the most realistic character. Sun is a badass, and I love that she was willing to fling her life for these people who she can't even understand what they're saying. But be realistic. How much are you really going to do for a complete stranger that you just met 3 days ago?
Is it fair to say that we probably like the show because we saw more logical, realistic actions from the characters than we would see in regular TV shows? You'll watch a show and you'll be like, yeah, that's for TV. Instead of, oh no, that person would probably actually do that.
Yes. And yes, I feel like that's one of the reasons why I like the show, and that's why I like Lance.
Okay.
Specifically, because he, to me, was the most realistic character.
You made your case for Lance. I appreciate that you made such a big case. So, with all that being said, What did you anticipate for season 2, and did season 2 make you want to keep watching?
I was still hooked for season 2. At the end of season 1, I was still hooked for season 2 because clearly it's kind of like a what do they do now?
Right.
That the stadium didn't pan out. There was no great help at the stadium that was going to fly them away.
Right.
I was disappointed that Lance died episode 1, but I was very, like, as much as I loved him as a person, I loved him even more as a zombie because he was unrelenting to making sure that the guy who killed him also died. And I love that.
They ended the episode with him dying, with the other guy, that guy who ended up killing him. He ended up getting him back as a zombie, and I thought that was funny.
And even the way Lance died was kind of like, would Lance's character have even done that? Like,
I think so, because he hesitated. It wasn't as if he just, okay. No, he legit was listening to the lady. He hesitated even before he got over to the door. He was pausing. He was like, I'm going to do this. And then he opened it. And then once he opened it, his fate was already sealed.
Right. Which he is the character that runs away. I don't even think he would have stopped the car just because she was standing there. I think he would have drove around her.
It was a story she gave him. I'm pregnant.
I don't think he would have stopped to listen to the story. I don't think that's who his character was. His character was like during the school episode when he decided to run off on his own. He could hear them going through it inside the school. He looked back, but he decided to keep going. And then the zombie started chasing him, so then he really kept going. But like, there were moments where Lance made a decision, yeah, I'm going to do what's best for me. Okay. And in that moment, when he decided to stop for that lady, when he knows how everything is with carjacking, at that point, because they were well into the zombie apocalypse at that point when Lance died.
Yeah, they don't really tell you how much time has passed throughout episodes. They kind of just continue it. You just kind of realize that they've taken a couple days, or they've traveled to a new location, and they're doing this.
Well, when I watched it, I interpreted that it had been maybe a month or so.
Okay.
Some time had passed because his hair was well overgrown. Okay. Everybody's hair was well overgrown at the start of season 2. Spears had a clean cut, and now he had this massive beard, this massive fro.
Right.
And so, and even Sun's hair was now long, and she had short hair in season 1. So I assume at least a month had went by. Yeah. So for him to be going through this and surviving for that long, I just don't believe that he would have. It was again like a random character,
some is out of their character.
Yeah.
Is what gets them killed.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what the show wanted to point, because we can point to characters dying because they do something against what we know them for.
Right.
So far in the show. Biggest surprise for the show is that Rose actually made it to her daughter. It was the biggest surprise. So to get into season 2 and to see now with her daughter how they are living, how they are going about, and we can do a whole other episode on basically everything going about season 2. But at least for the start, yes, she has gone full Karen. This daughter has not made her any less of a Karen. She is now gung-ho. She's Karen with a gun.
She is inseparable.
She is inseparable.
I cannot, they leave no room for me to like her.
Now, I like her character, but we can talk about that next time. What was the biggest surprise for you in this, at least for the whole season? The biggest surprise leading up? Maybe it was a character not dying. Maybe it was a certain event that occurred. What was the biggest surprise for you in season 1?
Probably what happened. 2 things. Well, I'll just say an episode. Is it episode 6? Yes. Episode 6. The whole thing with the heist. The plan for the heist. Like it was surprising that they made that decision, because so many things could have went wrong that episode.
Yeah.
It was surprising that, zombies just erupted out of seemingly nowhere until you find out the next episode, or it was at the end of that episode, what really happens, what really caused it.
What caused the whole thing.
And yeah, and then you saw that Lance was there randomly, out of his mind on drugs. That was random because
that felt random.
we hadn't seen him for like 2 episodes, and he just pops up. Yeah.
And then he's like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah.
So,
But
that whole episode was a big shock, I guess.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I definitely feel you on that. So, will we be continuing this? Will we actually be watching? Oh,
what was your surprise?
My surprise. I already said mine. Mine was with Rose. Mine was Rose just getting her daughter.
Oh, okay.
I really didn't see that. And then the way she got her daughter, literally the episode finale, the season 1 finale.
She just so happened to be like one of the only 2 people that's already at the stadium.
They get to the stadium. There's a guy, random dude too. Random dude pulls a gun, sees they're not zombies, hesitates, and then all of a sudden, who starts running down the stadium? One person, not a group, not a refugee camp. It's one person. It's her daughter. Now understand her.
So unrealistic.
At the beginning of episode 1, her daughter was on a whole truck with a whole bunch of people and some military people. Where did those people go? They never explained it. But her daughter definitely made it. Didn't look like she had a scratch on her.
With no yeah. Unrealistic.
Right. So when it ended like that, I was like, okay, she got her daughter back. But is that it? Like, it was that easy. Once you got to the stadium, you just got green clearance, right? They don't check you because she running to her. She don't know what's going on. There's blood all over Rose. Rosa just went through a war. She literally just went through a war of zombies and people. They're not gonna make sure you not turning, make sure nothing's going on with you, see if you need medical attention. Your daughter just gonna run to you and that's it.
Right.
So yeah, that was my biggest surprise. So are we gonna watch it? We gonna watch season 2?
We're already watching it.
Are we gonna watch season 2 and review it?
Depends on if you like it or not. If you think it's a 6 again, I don't see the point of us reviewing it.
Because we got different opinions.
We have different opinions about everything.
That's what makes it a great episode. All right, guys. This is the end of the Black Summer Review. Thank you for listening. If you want to support the podcast, please follow us on Anchor, Spotify, also Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on YouTube, where the episode will be uploaded in the next few days. And if you also want to continue following the show, we'll be giving constant updates on social media about when episodes are going to be coming up. And we're trying to see how far we can take this with reviews and see what else we would like to talk about. With that being said, thank you for listening.
Yeah, it was great being here. Hope to do a lot more episodes. We'll see.
And we will see you guys later. Peace.
Bye.